All right, guys. So thank you guys for jumping on. As we go through this, feel free to stop and ask questions, engage, all that fun stuff. This is going to be more like the protocol portion of making and receiving offers, whether you're making an offer as a buyer's agent or receiving offers as a listing agent. Last week we covered, representing both sides potentially, all that fun stuff. Here we go. We're kind of on the tail end of this. Next week is our final week on this cycle together. Let's see here, our belief system. So this is kind of a reminder point: win-win or no deal. Integrity, do the right thing. Customers always come first. Commitment in all things. Communication, seek first, understand. Creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork together, everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty. Equity, opportunities for all. Success results through people. So it's one of those things. Save me a copy. You got it. Keep this in mind, because all of this combined is not just a recruiting tool. It's not just for all of us at KW to feel good about ourselves. This is genuinely how, even if we didn't have this belief system, this is generally how deals are put together in a fair enterprise system. So think of your business dealings through this lens. I also add the word win-win, win-win, right? Not just buyer, seller, but the agents involved too, right? You want to make it fair for all parties involved. So keep this in mind as we kind of work through any business deal that you have. I'm going to go through the offer process, preparing the offer, writing the offer, which we kind of hit today, and a bunch more that Stephanie will be covering tomorrow, presenting the offer, receiving, and responding to offers. Let me move this out of the way. Sorry, guys. I like to think of sales as the ability to gracefully persuade, not manipulate a person or person into a win-win situation. Bo Bennett, author, PhD. So it really is about guiding a client, right? They have no idea like what this process is about. They have thoughts of it. They've seen HGTV. They're probably YouTubing, talking to their parents, friends, people who've gone through the process. And even now, it's definitely not the same process as it was 8 months ago, right? I mean, totally different type of negotiation piece. But at the end of the day, it's still finding a win-win space that the seller can feel good about accepting our offer. Our buyer can feel good about moving forward with the offer and through those repairs and whatnot. This is a breakdown. Buyer makes an offer. Seller responds in one of three ways. They can accept the offer, reject the offer, counter the offer. In any of these situations, if they reject the offer, buyer agent contact listing agent, learn more. Don't assume no means no. Always follow up. Maybe it was so low of an offer that, hey, they didn't want to reply in time with a serious counter. Like, oh, you're asking for way too low or whatever it is. Accepts the offer, great. We're going to go, begins the contract to close process, open escrow, counters the offer, we negotiate, and then we respond with not another offer, but we call it buyer counter offer one. And then we go until we find a win-win situation for both sides. So if you think about it through this lens, very simple step-by-step process.
And it's crucial for anybody who might be newer that your contract is filled out properly, because if I'm a listing agent and I get a contract for someone who didn't know how to fill out a contract, I won't even let my seller consider the offer. So get help. I'm here to help. We're all here to help. Have someone look over your contract.
That's such a great tip, because one of the biggest things we've noticed is that a lot of times clients will actually, or listing agents will accept our offer or tell us at least, hey, your offer is the cleanest, right?
Right.
It's well put together, and I would rather work with you compared to the other offers I've gotten. Here's our number. If you can match that or exceed it, it's yours, right? So early on, when I wrote crappy offers, agents there was a kind agent who was KW Studio City, and she said, Philip, your offer's so bad, like I would have to counter you on so many things to make it like presentable, to make it work.
Is it because you had a lot on there that you wanted?
All those things I showed you that I checked and not checked, oh, it was terrible. Even like the offer price, she's like, I understand what you're trying to say, and if it's what I think it is, you're offering $525,000, you are the highest offer by it. But you technically didn't even write it. I didn't even write it in the offer. I put it in the loan amount. It was a mess, right? So there was no offer amount. It was a loan amount that was being offered. And she was kind enough to say, you have to, well, if you can clean up the offer, this is by far the best offer we have, right?
Cause they know you're probably not gonna close escrow if you can't write the offer. There's no way you're gonna close.
Yeah.
You just don't have it together.
Right, and then we did get it together and then someone came up, and long story, but overall, there's other times where we submitted the offer, it was DocuSign and it was quick. And the agent, one of our first deals, when I finally got my act together, was like, hey, I love the fact that your DocuSign, very clean, very systematic, like I showed you guys. Here's the numbers we're working with. And I learned early on, like, whoa, hey, if we come across like how you see how we competent and confident in what we have, the professionals will stick their heads up and say, hey, you're kind of new, but this is clean. And if you're working with a mentor, partner, productivity coach, and then it's a clean offer, they'll come back and say, okay, guys in the ballpark, can you come up 20,000? Or hey, you're very close. I can't tell you what it is, and you quote unquote know. But can you come up to what your pre-approval is telling us, and it's yours, right? And even if we're off by like $5,000, they'll tell me, a little 5,000 more. So, yeah, that's all I can tell you there. Prepared to write an offer. You can go through all these items. The page I recorded was pretty spot on, right? In terms of like the immediate process. Ensure the property is still available. Build rapport with the listing agent. That, believe it or not, starts at the time that you schedule the home showing, right? Whether you follow the instructions on the MLS to a T. If you ever worked with Stephanie Mataco, Brad Korb, or Eric Delgado, their pet peeve is not following the instructions on MLS. And the instructions are very simple. Email your request or text whoever's in charge of it and follow through on leaving your business card, making sure the lights are off. I circle back and say, hey, we followed all your instructions and the client absolutely loves the house. Hey, what would be a win-win situation for your client? Any specific terms or services you want us to add in our offer? Even as the market churns, you still come from that place of like respect, mutual respect, and like, hey, I want to put together a win-win.
Try to stand out.
Absolutely, they'll respond in kind. And it's almost like you're building equity with someone that doesn't know you, right? So like when the time comes, there's like 3 points in a transaction. One is negotiating to open escrow. You need to build a little equity there to kind of get a number from them or whatever it is to make that deal work. The second one is during request for repairs. Like, oh, yeah, Stephanie, I know you priced it well, you kind of gave us a break going in, but these are some serious items that we need to address. Any way we can make that work. And then the last one, the third one is usually appraisal in years past. Now it's not as bad currently, because we still have high comps, but the third one could be appraisal in the next few months where we offer price A, we agree to price A, but appraiser says, hey, it's worth a lot less, right? So building equity early on is a big difference maker. Inquire about other offers on the property, or if it was an escrow, why did it fall through? Ask if they had an inspection report. Ask the listing agent, ask questions about seller's motivations and needs. That's a great way to build your offer. Hey, what can we add in our offer off the bat that makes it a win-win situation for your clients, right? Ask the listing agent how they want to receive the offer. That usually is an email, but sometimes I'll put in there everything in a single PDF, and you can do that through, I forget how, but we just have our BA do it, but in years past, I just went to Google it and they actually showed you how to go about doing that. Take the buyer's pre-approval letter from lender. You usually have that early on. Review MLS and tax records. You can click the parcel number that I clicked on, and it'll show you, especially if you're selling in Valencia, Stevenson Ranch, they have a lot of Melrose high tax assessment on the land already. So it's good to know that up front, so that, hey, that will ultimately affect PITI on what your clients pay. Produce a comparative market analysis. That kind of, in the last market, it didn't really help because we were offering more than what it was anyway. And then we were justifying it with the appraiser by saying, hey, this home has the improvements, lack of inventory, we competed against 1 million offers, all that stuff.
One thing, now that we're going into a more normal market, when you have a property that still might have multiples, if your client can go in a little higher, get the seller into escrow, because they can cancel. You get them into escrow, the likelihood of them canceling is usually much lower, because especially if they're moving out of state.
Oh yeah.
I did that up the street with like 60 offers and we offered 40,000 over, but we got like 35,000 back in inspection.
Bingo.
So, and they could have said, no, my client would have bought it anyway, but they didn't know that,
Yeah.
you know, so
It's
it's
a
just,
dance.
it's a dance.
Yeah.
And usually if the seller's ready to go somewhere, they want to negotiate. So keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah.
Just get into escrow.
Now, once you're in, you can dictate the
The
direction.
buyer's
of
in
dance.
charge.
Yeah.
Once you're in escrow. I mean,
Even with the
kinda.
last market to a degree, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, they could start over with an equal offer, but now as a listing side, we have to redisclose now
That might
all
fall
the
through.
stuff.
The next
Yeah,
one.
we have to disclose everything that the buyer saw legally, we have to do that. I know some agents don't, but we do. So now we have that to redisclose, renegotiate, and we could end up in the same place. Now the client's paid an extra month of mortgage,
Right.
you know, another $4,000 or whatever their numbers are per month that they're coming out of pocket from.
Yeah.
So they're feeling kind of a pinch there. Writing an offer, I'm not gonna go through this mainly because, Stephanie will cover this in detail. And then you can watch the 15-minute video or how we kind of put that all together. Talk through the offer. This has been working with your client. Avoid rookie mistakes. I love that at the very end. That was literally my first 9 months until I felt like, oh, I closed the deal. You know? Oh, man, that's fun. Rookie mistake would also include, okay, here's another rookie mistake, calling, not following through, showing up at the house, you look at the photos and it's vacant and there's an alarm on the house, and the agent's like, hey, your Supra is the last one that activated, and did you not follow the instructions to message us to find out about the alarm? Yeah, because people are flipping houses in the middle of South LA, of course, they're gonna put an alarm on the house, right, or at least have a house sitter. And that was a rookie mistake, I didn't follow through on the instructions. Yeah.
Another one is to submit an offer with a pre-qualification and not a pre-approval. No agent will take you serious if you ever did that.
Yeah.
It
pre-approval
has
all
to
the
be
way.
pre-approval, and if it went to underwriting already, it's a bump up.
Yeah. And we still take those, those are some of the good habits we picked up in the last market, hello, which is to have your pre-approval for your client just spot on. That with a kick butt offer and kick butt communication from requesting the showing all the way to negotiating the offer and getting the offer sent, that is like equity on top of equity on top of equity and building that credibility with the agent. And get this, I didn't think that at the time, but as you close deals with agents, you come across the same agents later on, where they come across your listings, vice versa. And now, because I've been saving numbers of people for years now, people who request me to show a home, I saved the number, it was with this house. And now I'm calling them on their listings and vice versa. And I just look at the text thread, okay, we were cool, awesome. And I'll remind them, hey, we met, and then it was blah, blah, Columbus Avenue house. Oh, yeah, I remember you. And it's a little bit of rapport, but it's something, at least their name or a name pops up.
It is always a good idea to talk to your client's loan officer.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Oh, you gotta be
Yeah.
on top of the loan officer, you gotta know everything's turned in.
Right.
I had a situation up north where we beat out like 80 people on the Alameda estuary, and then I found out from the lender, 10 days they've been waiting for a document. I said, and they didn't tell me. So the deal almost fell through. So I called my client, I go, you get that today. So your lender needs to tell you when your client's not doing something and get it done. So you need to
100%.
be like working with them
Oh, yeah.
every step of the way.
They are your client's lender or the lender that you recommend to
Yeah.
your client. You guys are like this, like side by side together in making it happen. Now I've learned to not call them past 5 o'clock unless,
Yeah.
something's a thing. And because all the emergency, there's no real estate emergency, guys, no such thing. As much as the client wants an answer, one of the preparation items we talked about the last couple of nights was, hey, the lender works on East Coast time. Most investors and processors and underwriters are getting that money is from the East Coast, right? So everything that they want to do is going to be done by 2 o'clock, and that's it. Escrow is only open till 5, and most of their lending questions are, guess what, are done by 2, right? And then lastly, hey, most people have family time after a certain time. But if it's an important question, just relay it to me, and you know what? I'll make sure it's top priority first thing in the morning. And whenever that first thing is, and you can get that.
Do you have to ask your client for a full letter, or you also can ask the lender?
Okay, well,
So,
yeah,
you
I
show me.
totally.
Oh,
Especially if you're meeting at an open house, like the most easy way to connect, and you know they're your client when they are like, oh yeah, here's the information for my lender. Give he or she a call, here you go, they'll get you everything, and that's like a tell, like you might not have their DRE signed right then and there when you meet them.
Right.
But the fact that at the first meet or that the follow-up call a few days or a day after the open house, they're giving you that information, you just think about it, you've won like a first down, or at least you're in the zone with them, you know? So that's that, present the offer checklist, double check all documents, follow instructions, label all documents clearly. So this is a real basic kind of presentation. I'll do a basic email where I attach everything in it, and I loop in a couple people. So it goes to whoever they say to send it to on the MLS. Like sometimes there's the agent direct email, but then they say, we want everything sent to offers@stephaniethetacoteam.net or whatever.
Right.
Great. I'll still put in CC, I'll CC their own personal email, you know, I'll throw in the lender, I throw in an assistant, in this case, Maureen. But even when I didn't have a TC, like or a full-time, you know, assistant, I would at least have the lender, myself, and the listing, and obviously the listing agent, in addition to whatever email they're telling me to send it to. And in there, I'll say, hello, Terry Lynn, this is Philip. It was great connecting with you on text, or it was great connecting with your team on text. You know, clients absolutely love the house. And here's our offer, here's a brief summary, and it's usually price, days, down payment, type of loan, VA, FHA, conventional, you know, non-QM, whatever. And here's the contact information for the lender, superstar lender, you know, Cindy Tanton, House Financial America, and she's CC'd as well. Any additional information that you need that we didn't provide, please reply all to her or contact her directly. Looking at making this a win-win-win-win situation. Anything we can do to make it work on, in addition to what we talked about, texted it out, please let us know, we'll make it happen. And send. And I still use that same copy paste template that even as the markets change. We want to let them know, like, hey, we're here to make deals work, right? You know?
So if I had a question about that, what is this that you're putting in? Buyer will put $100 for a 10-day option period?
I have no idea what that is. I read that one earlier. and I
What
wasn't
is
sure.
that? Okay.
I thought that was like
Get rid of it.
I thought that was a Texas thing.
Okay, it could be.
Based on
I'm like, what?
location. Well, I will say there are, well, we wouldn't do this now necessarily, but on the listing side, you probably saw it, Terry Lynn, where, as a listing agent, we would counter on the multiple counter, pay every day buyer, every business day after 25 days that we don't close, buyer to pay $200 per deed
Yeah.
every calendar day or some crazy thing like that. Yep.
But
the last-
usually the seller just wants to drop them. I mean, you're lucky if they'll do that.
Yeah, depending on the situation, absolutely. You know, and we have like worked those out, and guess who ate those fees? Me. You know, not my client. I was doing that, right? So some lessons in that, some rookie mistakes there. You know, and one of the rookie mistakes we made is that we don't vet the lender. You know, that was my rookie mistake early on. There was 2 early on deals, could have been easily avoided if I worked with a proper lender. Instead, I was like, cool, I totally trust, not to say his name, is now a realtor, awesome guy. As a realtor, he's awesome. He was made to be a realtor. He wasn't made to be a lender. You know? But as a lender, he wasn't that great. The same way it's dialed in now with Cindy and other lending partners. So even when they have their own lender, always kind of see that, hey, it's always great to have a plan B. If ever you're open to it, it's just to make sure if anything falls through the crack, we have a safety net. And I've learned some of the key questions to ask the lender is, hey, are we good on their debt to income ratio, their ETI? How solid are we on their funds, their proof of funds in order to close? Is it coming from a 401k on a liquid cash gift, whatever? If it's a gift, do they have a gift letter? Hey, if their credit score drops, are they still good? Or do they really need that A credit score in order to make the loan work? You know, little details like that, but most of them, they're pretty freaking solid. I mean, if they got a job at a credit union, they got people watching over those
I would
files.
say it's critical to get them, use a person like Cindy or a broker, because if you have a bank
There
like
you go.
Chase at the of A, your loan is never gonna close. They don't give a crap. They just processed so many and everybody's a number. I had a really high profile client with millions in the bank. They told her a rate and you can't get a hold of anybody because every time you call, it's a different person and it's only these certain hours. So always try to steer them away from telling the likelihood, she switched the last minute, the likelihood of closing with those is much harder with a big bank.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, you want to try to have your brokers your own, and if they have one, make sure that
most
they're on call.
Back in more detail on this.
You can usually get them on with somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that thread, I have noticed, and some of the lenders will tell you that the credit score is like perfect, right? And they're going jumbo financing, like they're buying at 1.5 and getting a loan for $1.2 million, $1.3 million. Most people admit that, hey, like go to a credit union, go to a big bank, and probably get a better rate on a jumbo product. But to Terry Lynn's point, it's not a jumbo product. Their credit score.
Oh, mine was a jumbo product.
They still.
And that was one of their premier clients, literally. She had $1 million in the bank and they changed the rate. What they do is they give you this fake rate up front, and then because you're not talking to the person who's really making the decision.
Yeah.
And then when they find out the rate, then you're halfway through the transaction and she's like, oh my God, it's way different than what they told me. That's what they do. They do bait and switch. Yeah.
Help build the network up, right? Always have that support. On the listing side, when you're receiving and reviewing offers, make sure offer is complete, make sure they're not dealing with a rookie Philip on the other side. I'm not kidding. Oh my Lord, God. Yeah, those offers were terrible. I'll probably dig it up and just for fun, I'll show it to you guys.
It's like a new agent.
Yeah, like don't do this. Listen to your productivity code, you'll be in way better shape. Confirm receipt of offer, get offer to seller in a timely manner. So on the listing side, we tend to just do it all on a Tuesday or whatever you define as your day to define it. In this market, like even in the last market, if you were like, hey, if the offer comes in, would it be okay if we just updated you with a summary via text? Absolutely. Because you think about it, the client's most concerned of time frame, amount, net. Right? Like, okay, and if they're all pretty equal, okay, this one's terms are ABC, this one is like limited inspections, okay, this one is essentially a hard money loan with fewer contingencies, 50% down. We can go any way you want, right? And I didn't have at that point, I'm describing the client or whoever went to the open house. I might actually tell them, hey, I know Joseph, so I have a relationship with him to a degree because we're at the same office, right? But beyond that, his client's offer is XYZ, and you just kind of go through the pros and cons of it. Right, and that's a super simple test. But if you do the sit down with certain clients that request that, then great. You can actually go into the CAR form and then get like a summary version and load them all in there, and they'll like automatically line up what the offers are, and you can, rank them and do all sorts of things. I tend to start with the very best and present it to them, and then work our way down. And quote unquote very best would be not just the price, but then strength of loan. And I'll say based on them being a conventional loan, not an FHA loan with extra layers, FICO score that was presented, proof of funds that were presented, the fact that they waived the contingency on appraisal, limited time on these. If we didn't counter on anything, this is probably the best offer on the table. Now, because you want to work them up, you can do a multiple counter offer, and toward the end of that crazy rush of the market, we were typically getting counted on the top 3 to top 5 offers. Yeah, maybe there were 20 offers, but they were countering like the 5 because there was so much administrative work preparing for so many across the board.
That can backfire the multiple.
100%. Yeah.
The market right before, like a year before,
Mhm.
I was doing a Northridge offer and we were buyer. And he multiple countered, everyone backed out. A lot of buyers won't respond to a multiple counter. So if you have a listing, you want to be a little bit wary of that. If you have a really good offer, you might want to work with it because half of them might walk.
I heard that your first offer is your best offer. Is that true?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No.
Someone said that.
You decide this is the right offer for you.
On the listing side.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of had the
What is
expectation.
the first that you think that you were doing communication to?
I would say, okay, we communicated, right? We talked, we texted, whatever. It came in above this list price, that's ideal, right? Or, or if it's overpriced, they came in, as best they can compared to the market. And I would say, in this market right now, getting an offer is awesome,
Right.
right? Like just the fact that you got one, and let's see what we can do to work it.
Right. You
It-
would want to do a multiple counter.
Yeah. I mean, you could, I mean, if you do have multiple offers.
You have
then-
a really, a lot of agents will say, just present your best and highest first of all.
Right. And then, in
What about
the
the
contingencies, and if I, as a selling agent, I keep all of them. For me, like I did that on that preset, I did 12 days on the loan, or 14 days on the loan, 12 days on appraisal, 7 days on inspection. That's
That's pretty
ideal.
standard, kind of.
Yeah, in the last market, oh yeah, in the last market, no appraisal contingency or no loan contingency, one or the other, or both. You really wanted to stand out. Now, I mean, I keep all of it in there. There's no reason whatsoever for a buyer to give away anything in this market. I will say, if as a listing agent, find out what their numbers are up front. Like, hey, if we don't hit these numbers, Nicholas, what's the absolute number that you won't go below? Right? What's the line? And here's your net ABC. If we sell at this price, high five. If we sell at this price, high five. If we sell at this price, hey, high five, right? High, medium, low. Where's that line at? Right? Because obviously we're gonna fight for you every step of the way, but real estate 101, it's not what we've sold for in the past, it's what the buyer's offering today. Right? So if the buyer isn't offering what we're asking for, what we're putting out there, then the market's spoken. Right? We're gonna do our part, but if it sits on these sites, it has nothing to do with the marketing or you as a seller, it's just the price at that point. Yes.
I'm trying to make a point, it's very important to have a good line of communication with the listing agent. And most of us gonna be, in this market, probably have a buyer's agent. So it's very important to have a good communication with the listing agent. And then just rough at the very beginning, you wanna get all the information that you can, because it gets more difficult down the line. And you also gotta be careful that the listing agent may give you a little bit of, I would say, bluff as to what.
Oh, yeah.
So what the seller wants, so try to, it's like a checkers game, it's like a chess game, but you have to, or poker game for people who play more. But you have to have your left ear, right ear distinctly and listen to their communication. I think that's the best thing, I can get without all the experience I've had with all listening.
Yeah, never hurts to ask if you're on the buying side, never hurts to present on the seller side. I mean, when we started with the Y4Cs, 2Ts, 2T, AS, seek communication, seek first to understand, right? So understanding up front and with the mindset at the offset, win-win or no deal. If you go in with that mindset that, hey, not only is my client gonna win, the seller, the other client's gonna win too. And, as realtors, we're not just representing one side of the party, we're actually representing everyone, including the public, in their real estate move, decisions, choices, understanding what's going on. So, when we take that step back and we see like this grander picture, it really is about everyone involved, not just our client, not just us, right? And then receive, review, and respond to offers. It's the same thing. Buyer makes an offer, seller responds in one of three ways, and we're back to negotiations. Here you go, sir. Hey, there you go. You got it. And as we go through, reach a decision. I'm gonna move my wife's picture from here from Zoom. You reach a decision on what you're working on next, and off you go. Response to the offer, that was like kind of our practice base. So recaps and ahas. In addition to what we shared, is there anything we can help cover to make?
Buyer broker agreement.
Absolutely.
Okay, how are you addressing that? Cause
By presenting it or?
yeah, like what is critical on here that you're,
So, well, you just swung right by it, and you guys watch the video, let's page
or,
one.
oh,
Or-
one. Page one. Page one.
Oh, sorry, go scroll up more, it should be on page 3. Oh, scroll down again. Page 3. Yeah, page 3 of 4 of the VRE, and it's gonna be on the recording that MJ will send out, maybe it'll start next week. But on there, it will say other terms or items, in the past, and even now, I put in the KOB admin and compliance fee in there, the 174 combined, and I put in the transaction coordinator fee. Don't quote me on this, I think with Mina, it's like 350.
I think maybe 399, I don't
Oh,
know,
$3.99,
but
okay.
worth every penny.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were paying RTC like 400 and 500 eventually, because that's the level of work. And like, oh, thank you, taking this off my hands, and I can focus on, inspections, negotiating contract changes and all that fun stuff. Keeping cool heads. And
One
then,
question, so do you have any guarantee that the people will go through like perfect thing?
well, I mean, they're covering about like,
You're gonna be responsible.
so they're working with escrow paperwork coming through, the listing agent side. 9 out of 10 times, the listing agent will hire their own TC to handle everything. So the communication goes between those people. So as the rainmaker or the lead listing agent, that you're taking care of the 20% of the 80-20, right? They got 80% of the workload of paperwork, you got the 20%. Your 20% is negotiating the contract into escrow, getting it accepted, right? Number 2 is coordinating the home inspection and any follow-up inspections needed and negotiating the request for repairs. That is not a TC thing, right? That'll be like,
Yeah,
you.
But where paperwork goes through TC,
Mhm.
some mistakes. will be
Oh,
there.
yeah.
She'll catch it, that's
Yeah.
why for 18 years, I did my own paperwork, even at Dillbeck. Mina is an expert at contracts.
Yeah.
So if you miss something, she's gonna have likelihood of catching it. Don't just hire any random TC.
Yeah,
Because if you're just wasting your money, because you're always responsible. Basically, I'm just using Mina for a backup, like hoping I didn't miss something, but if I did, I hope she catches it.
yeah, and
Right,
typically,
and this is what I want to do.
there you go. Yeah, you still oversee it for sure. You build an amount of trust, and a lot of times even the broker will probably say, "Oh, hey, this isn't signed. We can't authorize this." Right, and Rich is different. I think he actually like reviews everything. It's Rich who reviews it.
Which I love, he's so
Yeah,
awesome.
and Rich Pisani, our
He
broker.
doesn't want us to get through here.
Yeah, he's actually combing through it, because I'm not gonna say who and where, but our previous brokerage wasn't even like a licensed person doing the compliance underwriting, right, or the review. It was a non-compliance or a non-licensed person going through it. The broker just said, okay, cool, you got this. And she's good too, she's rock solid, right? But it's not Rick Pisani with 25 years of experience plus and seeing
Oh, right,
like
right,
stuff that
He
goes
looks
out.
at everything I think that goes through the office, but you should always have a TC, especially a newer person, because the likelihood of missing something is really high. And
Right.
you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want into a lawsuit really,
Oh,
so it's the best money you will ever spend,
And when would you hire them?
the minute you're in contract.
Okay.
The moment you get like the acceptance email and here's escrow instructions to wire money, I still handle that with my client.
Yeah.
Request for repairs, I handle any addendum changes. Like, hey, Philip, we needed to, the lender goes to us and say, hey, we need to add a cosigner.
Mhm.
Great. I write that up. On real basic addendum, hey, we're adding, there's like another form you can say to add the person to all the signed agreements that's in place. And that's found in this car forms. And when you cross that bridge, there's like 50 of us that you can ask and they'll tell you where to find it.
I'm like Philip, I fill out everything myself, I just use Mina as a backup,
So
just
go
Yeah.
over.
if I missed something.
I review their
I-
avid, or not their avid, that's my avid. I review the other agents' avid, the seller TDS and SPQ. Read through that bad boy. They're giving us reports. I'm reading through them. I mean, again, I started this by saying that we legally can't advise them on the contract and all the forms that we're getting. But I can read and say, okay, well, they're disclosing to us that the foundation was obliterated, because of this tree that was uprooting the house. Hey, maybe we should focus a little bit and maybe get an inspector on that, right? I can advise on getting a home inspection, and maybe you should get a plumbing line inspection. Most inspection companies now offer that. And if they don't, maybe you find one that does, or introduce them to a plumber that can run the line through there. We try and make it as simple for the client. Again, that comes from our confidence. If I advise them to do it, they're like, okay, and let's do it, what does it cost? $200, or whatever the cost is. But in a lot of the stuff, guys, as much as we prepare for the Ignite and the classes that you go to, it almost doesn't stick until you're like working with a client or you're buying your own. And Nicholas, you bought a house, maybe a few houses there and here and everywhere, and it's kind of like, oh, it's different when I'm now dealing with someone else's money. So, yeah, very different. Like we have our own spectrum, hey, I'm a risk taker or I'm conservative or whatever. And then when you're working with someone else and they don't, you're in the headlights, you don't want to mess up. But again, there's many different ways as a buyer agent to get your client out of a bad deal with all of their EMD intact. And as a listing agent, there's many different ways to get out of a deal if they really truly need to not sell at that moment, right? So, and there's a whole civil code dedicated in all of our contracts to exactly that. And then we can get into more bigger case studies. So next week's the last week I teach Ignite. And then after that, I get to dedicate different times